Hi, this is David Moorfield with basicbitcoinstrategy.com, and tonight I am going to be talking about a article from Forbes written about the Helium Network. And many of you know me as one of the admins for the Helium Mining Club on Facebook. And I don't work for Helium, I don't work for any of those companies, so I can say what I want, and hopefully somebody might actually take what I say and look it up, verify it, and go, huh, that guy might be right. So this is a great example of what happens when three people who don't understand something jump to conclusions based on incomplete information. And while they have some good data, they fail to put it in context, and then they cast aspersions and say, "Oh, this is, some scam or some horrible thing." I'm just going to jump into it and talk about this. Now, first of all, before I even jump off into this, I want to talk about what is the Helium Network, because a lot of people don't get it. Some people think, oh, you buy a hotspot, you put it in a closet, hook it up to your network, and it's going to print money. That's what a hotspot does for the hotspot owner. It earns them something, but that's not what the hotspot does. Okay, the hotspot takes signals from sensors like this. This is a Tektelic Kona smart room sensor. It has temperature, humidity. It has a motion sensor. It's got a door contact sensor. Um, it's going to take information from things like this. This is a digital matter Yabby. I have the Oyster out in the car, but the Yabby, it basically is going to send its GPS coordinates at a specified interval through the network via a radio signal. Think of it like a microburst. It just goes, and whoever hears it with their hotspot is going to relay that data through the network. So the hotspot is a gateway. You need to think of it as a gateway for radio information to come in and then be transported through the internet back to where it's going. Okay, so for instance, I have I have some um, air conditioning units that I monitor, and right there, that's my temperature data, and that's my humidity data. Okay, real simple. Funny enough, the thermometer that goes on one of the condensers on the roof, a replacement was like $325. I got a $100 Dragino LSN 50 V2 sensor node with a temperature probe, put it on the water pipe, and then I no longer have to go on the roof to look at my temperature. I can just pull it up on my phone, and guess what? That mercury thermometer that cost $300, it didn't email me and text me when the temperatures went outside of the range I want. Okay? My helium connected sensors do that. And they're you would think that would cost a lot of money. But um, I have maybe 36 or 37 sensors on the network since December. It's cost less than $7. $7. That's total for data credits since December. All right. So, yeah, those of you out there that are like, oh, helium's trash and, it's a scam and it doesn't work, buy a sensor, onboard it, use it, compare it to a cellular device, and then talk to me. Okay. It's way, way cheaper. Um, you know, cost effective? Oh, yeah. If you're a company that has devices that you want to monitor, has vehicles that you want to know where they're at, you know, you start looking at some of the GPS um, programs that are out there, they can get extremely expensive. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, this article written by three people that I don't think they fully understand what they're talking about, so I'm not going to call them out as it's either one, they set out to just do as much damage as they could, or they have no idea how to put this in context. And I'm going to err on the side of they're just ignorant. All right. Helium was touted as the best real world use case of Web3 technology, but as it struggles to generate revenue, a Forbes investigation found that executives and their friends quietly hoarded the majority of wealth at the project's inception. Ooh, that sounds so awful. One helium investor claimed that owners could recoup their purchase in a few weeks. Well, I mean, I ROI'd on one of my devices in 4 days, but that was back when I was earning more rewards. I'll get to that. Let's see. Frank Mung, who's the chief operating officer. And by the way, I don't work for Helium. I don't work for any company related to Helium. So, quite frankly, I can say what I want. It's my opinion. And if you don't like it, that's okay. Frank Mung, they call him the chief hype master, wrote that one of the tenets of the Helium Network is that it's fair. Everyone has an equal opportunity to mine. Yeah, it's fair. And yes, they have an equal opportunity to mine. You just got to buy a hotspot. I don't see anything controversial about what Frank Mung said. Interesting. Okay. After waiting more than 6 months for her hotspot, this poor woman, Miss Davis, from Houston, same as me, Miss Davis bought a hotspot for about $500, and it took 6 months to get it, and now she's only mined a single token in 3 months. Well, Miss Davis, that's what happens when you have close to 1 million hotspots online, and the company Helium doesn't sell hotspots. You bought that from a manufacturer that met the requirements to make a helium hotspot, but Helium, they had nothing to do with manufacturing, the shipping, the distribution, the sour deals with a certain distributor. None of that was up to Helium because they don't have any oversight of any of that because this is a decentralized network. So they can't really exercise any kind of authoritarian rule because that would be centralized. And yeah, okay. But helium has made a handful of people disproportionately rich. Its executives and their friends. And then big, big letters. This thing was set up to enrich the founders and early supporters at the expense of everyday people. That's a bold, bold statement there. Matter of fact, that's a conclusion that in print, that to me that seems like libel, but I'm not the subject of the article. Lucky. Moving on. Once again, these people don't even understand how this works. Helium insiders touted the democratized spirit of their People's Network They quietly amassed a majority of the tokens earned at the project's start, hoarding much of the wealth generated in its earliest and most lucrative days. Forbes identified 30 digital wallets that appear to be connected to Helium employees, their friends and family, and early investors. This group of wallets mined 3.5 million H&T. Almost half of all Helium tokens mined within the first 3 months of the network's launch in August 2019, according to a Forbes analysis that was confirmed by blockchain forensics firm Certic. Within 6 months, more than a quarter of all H&T had been mined by insiders, valued at roughly $250 million when the price of helium peaked last year. Even after the crypto price crashed, the tokens are still worth $21 million today. Okay, are the numbers wrong? I'm going to say probably not. I haven't confirmed them, but it's so easy to explain this, and this is why I think these people just they were like, "Hey, we just went by the Helium house and we just looked up some numbers, and here's some people on Reddit that are bitching that also don't understand anything. So we're gonna take all the numbers that we can and just throw it all out there and then tell everybody this was some scam." No, it's really simple. Helium reached out to a company to make the first hotspots, and those were the OGs, or the original helium hotspots, right? Um, and those were the only hotspots that helium actually had anything to do with selling. Okay, they didn't manufacture them; they contracted it out. They put the specs out there for manufacturers to come up with their own designs, submit it, and if approved, then they could sell their hotspot and onboard it to the Helium network. If Helium had wanted to make a lot of money, what they would have done is never let anybody else make hotspots. They would have done it themselves. They would have owned the market. But wait a minute. You can't do that if you want to be decentralized. Okay, so what this really tells me is that they don't understand that from the very get-go there was a certain amount of H&T set aside every month. It's called a budget, okay? That's set aside every month to pay people running hotspots, which, these people might call them miners, but it doesn't matter. If you have 100 hotspots online and there's 2.2 million H&T, it's not hard to figure out that 2.2 million divided by 100 is a little bit more than 2.2 million divided by 900,000. So either y'all don't understand how this works. It's on their website. Read the roadmap. It's not hard to figure out that over time rewards are going to go down as more hotspots come on, because the rewards have to be spread out across all the hotspots on the network. So yeah, I'm sure the first 10 people that had hotspots were making a crap ton of H&T. Now, what they're not saying is at the time they were making all that H&T, well, the Helium token was worth a couple pennies, okay? So, and it's not like it was on all the exchanges at the time either, right? So, nobody heard about it. I mean, even in my cryptocurrency circles, nobody was talking about it until like mid to late 2020 is when I first heard about helium, and I went, yeah, okay, it's another one of the thousands of projects out there that you can mine, and you know, I just I wasn't interested on the front end because I didn't understand what they were actually doing. Knowing then what I know now, I would have bought every hotspot I could and hung them. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? But in February of 2021, I got COVID, and I ended up not being able to do a whole lot. I did a lot of reading, and I went back and started reading helium, and that's when the regret set in. Like, I missed the boat. Wish I would have been early. But it wasn't too late to get in. I started getting some hot spots, and it took about 5.5 months for my first hotspot to arrive. And I ordered from several different manufacturers. One of them never delivered, and most of y'all know who they are, but um, you know, that's not Helium's fault. Helium doesn't have any oversight of these manufacturers. Just is what it is. That's between you and the company that made it. All right. So, basically, to summarize this paragraph here, it's we don't understand how math works. Moving on. Oh, here you go. They call helium security tokens a scheme, which guarantees about a third of all H&T for insiders. They haven't previously disclosed the additional windfall taken from helium's public token supply worth millions that was identified by Forbes. Yeah, y'all aren't too smart. If I had to say that the grass is green, in order for you to understand that, then I mean, at a certain point, it's kind of condescending to say, "Hey, this is what this means" when they put it out there. Okay, and that was identified by Forbes. It makes it sound like y'all did all this work. Y'all didn't do any work. Y'all read Reddit, watched some YouTube videos, and listened to people who didn't know what the hell they were talking about. Now you don't know what you're talking about. It's like listening to a couple virgins tell you how to fuck. That's what we're talking about here. All right. Each hotspot earned an average 33,000 H&T in August 2019, according to blockchain data. Today, each hotspot only earns around 2 H&T per month. Some insiders exploited vulnerabilities known to the company to increase their hauls even more. They don't even say what those exploits are, but later they allude to some things which I find kind of sad. Okay, 33,000 H&T each in 2019. Well, there were 66 hotspots on the network, according to those numbers. Easy math. Now there's 900,000. So you have the same budget, but now you got to spread it across 900,000 instead of 60. Okay, yeah, they're going to make less. There's blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah. Then we go on. There's just, man. Okay. So then they start talking about closet clusters. We all know that there's been a problem with spoofing on the network. People, they have a couple of hotspots in a closet or in a room or something, and they assert them out, in all the Res 8 hexagons around each other, and they're cheating. Okay, we know there's cheating. What's Helium to do about cheating? They don't have any control. Okay, it's a decentralized blockchain, folks. They cannot just say, "Oh, we think that guy's cheating, so we're going to shut him down." Nope, that's not how decentralization works. Okay, and quite frankly, right now, well, more so a year ago, proof of coverage was, that was really all that you're getting paid to do, and then some um, consensus groups. But now that there's data on the network, that's going to be what you're going to get paid for moving forward. It's shifting in that direction. Pardon me. Um, so, okay, so there's bad people out there that cheat. Not Helium's fault. And quite frankly, there's nothing they could do about it because it's not a centralized network. It's not owned by Helium, okay? They gave birth to something and they released it this year in February. It's now its own living blockchain, and Nova Labs is now really they're going to go back to what they wanted to do in the first place, and that is onboard a bunch of sensors on a global network that didn't exist prior to 2019. Okay, so all of this blah blah blah, now they go after the CEO. For example, a hotspot linked to Halim's wife displayed the coordinates of a California home the couple owned, according to a property record search. Okay, 5 hotspots connected to this wallet mined 25,000 HNT in the first 3 months of the network's inception, according to blockchain data. The wallet has earned a total of 455,000 HNT from mining rewards worth 25 million at HNT's peak price and 2 million today. It's unclear when or if Halim sold those tokens. He declined to comment. Probably because it's none of your damn business what he does with his money. Look, I would be willing to bet the CEO of Helium was probably one of the first people to have a hotspot, and I wouldn't fault him for putting it at his house. That's ridiculous. So yeah, okay, he's one of the first people that probably made about 33,000 HNT in the first month mining it. It was worth pennies at the time. Yeah, I'll just move on. Oh no, yeah, okay. So this one person, they're bitching on Reddit. I realized it was going to take years to break even. Yeah, I mean, if you just got your hotspot, it's going to be a while. But you would have known that if you'd kind of looked at the progression, done your own homework instead of just blindly follow somebody on YouTube. But, you know, a lot of people on YouTube talking about crypto, they're all like high energy and trying to get your attention, and they don't know the first thing about what they're talking about, even though they want you to think they are. And I'm just not that way. I'm not high energy. I'm not charismatic, but at least I know my shit. Okay, so I mean, I can smell bullshit when I read it. Beyond issues with its miners and token system, Helium appears to have a more pressing problem. The company seems to be struggling to generate revenue from its network. Forbes found that over the past year, between June 2021 and August 2022, just 92,000 in revenue was generated from data moving across the network. comma, according to Helium's own numbers. Forbes, I mean, you didn't have to find anything. It's on their freaking website. This is like, I'm going to justify my job by saying, I investigated and I found such and such and blah, blah, blah. Oh, you mean you went to their website? Hey, all right. This is not news that they generated $92,000 in revenue from data moving across the network. I mean, my 36 or 37 sensors generated not even $7 of that. Okay? That's a lot of freaking sensor data. So, it's a new network that people aren't using yet. Are we shocked that they have low revenue numbers for what's generated using the network? I'm not. It's actually in their roadmap. Like, yeah, we know it's going to be a while before people are using it, but we have to build the network in order for people to use it. I guess that's hard to understand. Let's see. All right, so the CEO was talking about devices going on the Helium network, and he said when somebody pulls a trigger and says, I'm going to build a device that uses the Helium network, well, according to the CEO, then we expect it to take years before that device actually materializes in any meaningful way. I'm not shocked by that statement at all. I don't even know why they put that in here. So it may surprise people to find that there's hundreds of devices out there right now that can be used on the Helium network. A lot of people use LoRaWAN sensors on other types of gateways, but those gateways are not distributed across a city, across a country, across the world. They're local on site to like a factory, a building, a hospital. And all of those devices could be put on the Helium network if they wanted. And you're like, well, why would they do that? Well, if you have a truck that you want to, let's say, know the temperature of the box of that truck because it's got food in it and it's driving across the city, and you don't want to put a cellular device on there to monitor it, put a helium sensor. And it's pennies, pennies, pennies. It's nothing. So yes, it'll take a lot of devices to consume the data credits that's going to add up to $1 million. All right, so let's talk data credits. 1 million data credits is like $10. Yeah, anyway. Moving on. Helium's apparent overstatement of these business partnerships, combined with revenue that relies on sign-on fees rather than the actual use of its network, could invite regulatory scrutiny. So they're talking about, you know, partnerships that supposedly have been touted, by Helium. The city of San Jose, they had a partnership, and they decided not to go any further because they thought that Helium rewards in US dollars were going to stay, at a certain level. Then it became, oh, well, we're not getting the rewards we thought, so we're going to cut the project. Okay, that's fine. Not shocked. Sign-on fees. When these manufacturers, they build a hotspot, they have to pay an onboarding fee in advance, and the first the first time that you're going to assert its location, that's paid by the manufacturer for a hotspot. Okay, so which of course that cost comes to the consumer that buys the hotspot. That's I don't see where that's even an issue. Yeah, so you pay $50 to onboard a hotspot. Big deal. Uh, Beyond complaints over low earnings, community members report waiting up to a year for their hotspots to ship. Okay, let's talk about that. Helium does not manufacture these hotspots. So, and Helium has no oversight of these manufacturers. So, not sure why you're trying to pin the tail on that donkey, but oh, that's right. Y'all don't even know that, obviously. Once their hardware does arrive, some members claim that random variables like topography, squirrels, mesh window screens, and bird droppings can negatively affect their rewards. Frank Mung, you should be ashamed of yourself for sending those assassin squirrels out there to chew up antenna cables and PoE. Shame on you. Yes, Helium hired an army of squirrels to go out there and bring down your rewards. And I'm very angry with them. No. All right. This is an example of an antenna that comes with one of the most popular hotspot uh, from one of the hotspot manufacturers. And this antenna, if you have this in your living room and you have a stucco house, which is basically a metal cage covered in stucco because there's a metal grate that holds the stucco together. You live in a Faraday cage, okay? Radio signals don't really like going through Faraday cages. And so, yeah, this is a hotspot is basically a radio that's connected to the internet. Remember, it's a gateway, right? It's a gateway from radio to the internet to radio. Really, really simple. If you don't understand how radio works, um, I I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we've been using radio for a long time. World War One, they used radios. World War Two, they really had radio down. They had these big radios they talked on. They worked. They also had to deal with topography because line of sight is a big deal when it comes to radio signals. Um, Mesh window screens. Well, metal mesh window screen. Probably not going to get a radio signal through that very well. So, yeah, going back to where they were talking about people manipulating hotspots to make them earn better, um, I don't see that as manipulation if you run an antenna cable outside up to the highest point of wherever it's located and maybe a little higher. Now you have line of sight to the horizon and you're going to get better signal quality. Um, no, that's just understanding some simple physics when it comes to radio, and it's certainly not cheating. Oh, but yeah, this whole thing about random variables like topography, squirrels, mesh window screens, like just this alone tells me the three blind mice that wrote this article don't know their ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to helium because they don't even understand what helium does. Which is sad because they have quite the opportunity to go out there and bash something, and it's something they know nothing about. But I guess that's not rare these days that people go out and have strong opinions about things they know nothing. It's but it does give me pause because there's a lot of people out there that I'm just going to say it as the admin of the Helium Mining Club. The one thing that really frustrates me is a lot of people that are mining helium. They only got into helium to mine H&T. They don't know anything about what the Helium Network does. They've never onboarded a sensor. They could not articulate how that works. They just want to get paid. And that's, if that's where you're at, fine. But at a certain point, going out there and reading something like this by a bunch of diplodunks that have no idea what they're talking about, and then they get in the echo chamber with you about you talking about your low mining rewards, and then y'all want to just cast shade at helium because it's not making what I think it should now. You think that's helping the network? You think that's going to help people understand anything about how to use it? You think that's good in the long term for the investment that you made? No, it's not. And this stuff is not rocket science. It's not like super hard to understand. Look how simple that is. Now, was it simple to onboard and get it to work at first? No. And the reason? There's not a whole lot of documentation out there yet. Why? It's new. Not many people are using it. I would venture to say that, there's, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people out there that really get it. I'm not one of those 1,000. I'm following them, but um, you know, it's a big world, and there's a lot of applications that, without people understanding or even knowing they can do something, yeah, of course they're not using it because they don't know about it. So, if you're a hotspot owner and you're pissed off, go get you some sensors, learn how they work. You know, I truly believe that one day we're going to be in a world where a plumber calls a customer and says, "Mr. Smith, can I swing by your house? Your water heater is telling me that it's leaking." And that signal is going to be carried on the Helium network. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out. Could you connect it to Wi-Fi instead? Yeah, sure, you can get sensors that are connected to Wi-Fi. But what if you change the Wi-Fi password? Now your sensor's not going to work. You put it on the Helium network, it's going to work regardless. It'll work when your Wi-Fi is down because as long as there's helium coverage in the area, it's going to transmit that signal to a gateway. The gateway is going to send it through the internet. I mean, folks, I got like 36 of these sensors that are running, and the only one that's no longer running got struck by lightning, so I'm going to give that a pass. But the others, they're doing what I want them to do. I no longer have to go on the roof to get my temperatures of the equipment that I monitor. On a weekend, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing, depends on what time of night it is. When I get an email that says, "Hey, this IT room is overheating," I'm not happy that I got to go up to the office, but in the end, I'm happy that I found out when I did, because otherwise there could be equipment damage. Okay, so yes, it does what it's designed to do. So I get it. There's a lot of people out there that are just pissed off about mining, but the Helium Network is not about mining, and um, as soon as people embrace that and start to learn about the network and what it does, I think maybe the narrative may actually shift. I'm expecting it to, but December is end of life for 3G. So LoRaWAN I think is a great alternative to 3G devices out there that are currently monitoring um, variables, and LoRaWAN is so much cheaper than 3G and 4G devices, so it makes a lot of sense. But it's going to be several years before this really picks up, and what that really means is that only the true, only the people that really understand where this is going are going to be exempt from the panic. People that bought hotspots and they think that, oh, I'm never going to get my money back and this just sucks. It sucks that you can't read. Take some time and look into this. Read into what you actually got involved in. Don't read garbage like this. Okay? This is, like I said, I don't think they set out with bad intentions. I just think they're kind of lazy and maybe a little on the dumb side when it comes to technology. And they talk to people they see on Reddit. It is what it is. They're going to try to talk to employees at Nova Labs that won't talk to them because you got to go through official channels. So you talk to some former employees, which they always have. I don't know, former employees, it always depends on how they left, right? Uh, kind of determines what they're going to say. So there's really nothing in this article that I find shocking, newsworthy, or otherwise informed. I mean, yeah, they went to a website and they got some numbers. Good for you. I could do that in an afternoon. So I'm going to stop my rant, but I would just encourage everyone, when you see articles like this, it doesn't matter that Forbes published it. You know, um, they don't know how to validate what they're saying because they don't understand a subject, because it's fairly new. And yeah, so I don't really care what the source is. Read the article, look at what they're saying, look at their conclusions, and you can see they're wrong. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Y'all have a good night.